Hello, welcome to the podcast. What is this podcast?
This podcast
this is Your Take is Excrement.
Your
right?
Take is Excrement.
I'm sorry, I walked into the wrong building today and I got really confused. So the studio that we're recording in is there's like 60 or 70 different podcasts that are here, and sometimes I just pop into the rooms and they just have me on. So
yeah, they chain us to desks.
I live in a liminal space. Yeah, I'm a prisoner here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Help us. Send help.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we're in the right place. My name is May, and this is Neo.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm in the. Okay, sorry, I just had to remember. All right. I think that this podcast is sponsored by our patrons over at patreon.com/excrement. Thank you for supporting us, and I'm sorry for these very confusing intros. I don't know how to start a podcast, but it's fine.
Listen, you just got to get enough momentum to just kind of keep it going.
Yeah, you got to heat it up first.
Yeah.
You got to cook the old engine, you know?
Yeah,
anyway.
like a frog in water in science experiments.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh. So, hi, and welcome to Your Take is Excrement. This is a movie podcast. This is a podcast about film. And basically the bit is I have a boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. His name is Neo, and he is with me today. Say hi.
Hello, I am Neo.
Okay.
I am the boy.
You grew up in
Africa.
And what do they have there?
A lot of tropical rainforests and dirt.
But not a lot of
classic cult horror films.
So today we're going to
watch a classical horror film. Or we
And?
already have watched it.
Yes.
And then we're going to talk about it.
Okay, and so now we're at the talking about it stage, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what?
Unless we just want to put it on in the background.
Yeah, let's just throw it on. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
And we just in the background you hear this muffled Mancha! The whole fucking time. Anyway, hello, my lovely children. We watched Salo, or 120 Days of Podcast, and we're going to talk about it today on the podcast. Sorry, I got that confused.
Yeah.
What's wrong, Neo?
Well,
You look sad.
We watched that movie.
Yeah, like what? Why are you so fucked up? What's wrong?
I don't like the movie.
Oh, okay. So this is going to turn from podcast into therapy session, I think. So let's just get that out of the way real quick. So we do have to talk about a little bit of background. So let's say you're at home, right? And you're like, I don't know what Salo or 120 Days of Sodom is. I am but a fool.
First of all, don't watch it.
I mean, unless you want to. Come on.
Even
we
if
can
you
turn
want
it on.
to,
Come on,
you
we can
probably
cuddle.
don't want to. And if you do watch it and you say, "Oh fuck, why did I watch that?" I did my best to wave you off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like the traffic cones, in a closed intersection. I can't stop you from going through a closed intersection, but I'm trying to stop you from the consequences of your actions.
It's the train meme.
It's the train meme, and I'm pulling the fucking lever.
Oh my god.
Okay, so this movie is about
This movie is sponsored by Hershey's.
So this movie is about okay, so first of all, it takes place in like 1944, kind of at the end part of World War II. Mussolini and the Italian government surrendered to the Americans after we, kind of wrecked their shit. But after the Italian government surrendered, the Nazis took over the northern part of Italy and made a little country similar to Vichy, France, called Salo.
Yes.
So this movie takes place in Salo, and it follows 4 prominent members of the fascist party. And I think there's one of the 4 is a church leader or something, like a bishop or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all go and they select and black bag 9 boys, 9 girls who are all teenagers. I think they're all probably legal adults because of the filming of what gets filmed, but they're all supposed to be children.
Yes.
And they take them to a hidden house where they have prostitutes tell them about sex, and then they rape the fuck out of these kids. The fascists only want the boys, but the girls are there for the boys, but also for the Nazi guards they have.
Yes.
And the whole thing just kind of, so it starts out as just like, hey, we own these kids and we're going to rape them. And then they get really into shit eating. So they make the kids eat shit, and then they like eat shit. And then like, it's just, there's all these scenes where they're at this, like at a banquet table, and it's all with all
Eating
this
shit.
finery.
Yeah.
And they're all just eating shit. And then eventually they just kind of snuff all the kids.
So
And they just watch all these kids getting snuffed.
yeah, pretty much.
And then the movie ends.
That whole description, you sounded like you had a gun to the back of your head.
I
You were
have
like, watch out.
I had a metaphorical gun to the back of my head.
You're like, I'm so sorry. I have to describe this to you, but here comes.
The memory of the film is
Yeah.
the metaphorical gun to my head.
Right. Goodness, this film.
Well, so we should also note, before we go into any further discussion, before the film came out, a fascist fucking killed the director.
Well, so there's a lot of debate about that, but we'll get into that in a bit. But so there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things with this. Like if you're a film person, like let's say you're a film person, then you know that there's a lot of shit going on here. I mean, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Number one, this is maybe the most disturbing movie anyone ever made.
It's the most disturbing movie I've ever seen.
I would definitely say budget to actual disturbing on-screen content, it is the most worthwhile disturbing movie. I mean, if we're talking about the money on screen, it's very obvious, it's very artful, and also, yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's fucked up, dog.
Worse than Cannibal Holocaust by leaps and bounds.
By leaps and bounds. And so, like, and you know what? That's kind of a hot take. A lot of people actually think Cannibal Holocaust is worse. Imagine that.
Well, imagine being that wrong.
Damn. Well, and all this is fake, you know, but some of Cannibal Holocaust is real, right? So
but I mean, but at the same time, like, I think that, a lot of the fascists in power did this shit. So
right.
Also, yes and no.
Well, and also if we're talking about budget to disturbing content, Cannibal Holocaust is kind of cheap, and it kind of shows its cheapness. I think at times it's very like cheap Italian horror film at times. Where I feel like Salo is never cheap Italian horror film.
Yeah.
It's pretty much always fucking bad to look at.
Cannibal Holocaust like looks bad.
Yeah.
Like the camera work is shitty.
Right.
Intentionally, right?
I think so.
Like even if it's intentionally shitty, it's still fucking
Still
shitty.
pretty shitty.
Salo is the movie is beautiful. Like it's in Technicolor, right?
I believe so.
So like it's in Technicolor, which is just like it's
beautiful.
Just like beautiful. It's
colorful.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful, colorful movie. All the camera work is proficient. The sound is great. It's a very well-made movie, which makes it so much worse because it's a well-made movie that captures everything beautifully about children eating shit and getting raped by fascists.
Yeah, and you know, I hate that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's fucked up for like a billion reasons, this movie, but like there are some notable things that I think separate this movie from other movies of this caliber. First off, there's this weird romanticized relationship between the victims and the perpetrators.
Mm-hmm.
There's this weird almost sensual nature that stuff is shot where it's almost meant to kind of come across as appealing and romantic.
It's because the movie is shot from the perspective of the fascists.
Exactly.
So it's you're seeing the way they see it.
Yeah, and that's what's fucked up about it mostly because it's just treated like this jaunt. But also, I think there are themes in there about how, you know, the populace kind of more or less has this like sensuous relationship with their own oppressor, right? And they try to do things like that where it's like, yes, this horrible thing is happening to these people, but these people are kind of fine with it. Like they're kind of participating. Sometimes they're not participating and it's bad. Sometimes it's like very theater of exploitation, but other times it's like they are romantically participating in their own, you know, torture, shit-eating demise.
Right.
And so that makes it really fucked up to look at.
But the reason they're participating is because of the prostitutes who are like training them to do so.
Well, yeah, and so
they're
like, being groomed to do this.
Yeah.
Well, and so there's that element, and then
Well, so like this whole movie is literally just all those conspiracy theories about like Hollywood pedophiles. It's like that conspiracy theory, the movie, but with fascists.
One of the big significant things that I was talking to Neo about the other day was that, you know, Harriet Tubman and Ronald Reagan were alive at the same time. Like, I heard that the other day, and I've thought about that. And there was a brief overlap, you know, it's like one generation, right? So, like, Salo is Pier Paolo Pasolini making a movie about how in less than a generation, like less than a virtual lifetime, fascism was there, did exploit people, and everyone participated in it. It went pretty much unpunished for the majority of people that participated, and they just went on back to their lives, and those are our friends and neighbors, and we just are totally okay with that. And how that's kind of a fucking nightmare. And so, like, people, even now, even still, people have this tendency to be like, well, the good thing about Salo is that it's very old. And, you know, because it gives it a little bit of, like, emotional distance or something like that. Like, it's, you know, it's 40, 50 years old, something like that. But that's not even a lifetime. That's not long. And I think that a lot of the things that are being documented in that film are still true of our times now today.
Mussolini's daughter is a far-right politician in Italy today.
Yeah.
So it's like we're not that far removed from fascism and World War II fascism.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, their fucking children are politicians.
Right.
You know, they're still catching Nazi war criminals.
Yeah.
It's like the things humanity's taken such like incredible like leaps and bounds in the last 100 years that we really want to distance ourselves from what was like last generation.
Right.
And it's like no, we can't outrun that. We have to address it. You have to deal with it.
Exactly.
And we're not going to. And that's kind of what this movie's about. Is
how we're not going to address it. We're not going to do anything about it, and all of it has a tendency to fall into just being in vain. Yeah. And like, you know, it's mostly fallen on deaf ears too, I find, because most people just watch it because it's gross and fucked up, and they don't really comprehend more or less what the film is really trying to do. And
that's a tragedy. Like that,
I think so too, but
that's
you know.
Like that's almost like that knowledge is almost worse than the fucking film.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, right. I don't know.
Well, it's like I was watching this interview the other day with Marilyn Manson, of all people, and he was being asked about The Holy Mountain. Right. And he was like, The Holy Mountain, it's your favorite movie, right? And he's like, yeah, it's my favorite movie. And he's like, why do you like it? And Marilyn Manson like thinks about it. Then he's like, you know, I just think visually it looks really cool.
Right.
And, you know, and you're just like, oh, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, that's the worst possible thing to say about it. And it's like, I feel like that is how most people view Salo, where they're like, Salo, that's the one that's real fucked up, right? And it's like, yes, but also it's significant as a film, and we should talk about that. You know, it's like the anti-Birth of a Nation in a lot of ways. Right. It's like, it's like one of very few movies that's just like, this is a thing that's happening. We deserve it, and it sucks. Another movie that we haven't talked about yet is Goodbye Uncle Tom, which you're unfortunately going to have to watch at some point in your life because it's kind of comparable to this. And that one is mostly about like the slave trade in America. And the ultimate point is like the white people have it coming, right? Like if this is all very true, all of these things that happened, then like anything that happens to the white people at that point in the United States, they deserve. And it is coming, and there's nothing they can do about it. And even though it was generations ago, it's still like the blood is still on their hands, and that's still like, the way that things are.
It's generations ago, but you didn't fucking fix it.
Exactly. Well, and so
like you didn't deal with it.
Yeah, and so it's kind of one of those.
It's a credit card debt. You put it under you hide the credit card in the sofa. It's not gonna help you.
Right. Well, and it's like this is like one of those movies that's often labeled as fairly extremist, but the bit is simply just like
fucking fascists.
Fascists get away with it, and
yeah,
time is good to fascists. Like. Time is good to fascists, just like time is good to the white slavers, and eventually there's going to be some kind of chickens come home to roost moment, but like, and they have it coming, you know what I mean? But the sad thing is it's like inconsequential. The whole thing is inconsequential. You know, it doesn't, all of those individual lives, like it doesn't even matter. All of that suffering, it doesn't even matter. Like it's kind of just brushed aside for the political ramifications. So it's like there's a lot of shit going on with Salo. Salo is a spicy meatball. He's the spicy meatball. Hey, speaking of Ridley Scott, we were talking about Ridley Scott before this started, and so House of Gucci is out, and Jared Leto's in it, and he has like the most embarrassing Italian accent ever, and they're memeing the shit out of this online, and it's like the funniest thing ever. I have to show it to you right now, just because I said spicy meatball and we're talking about Italian things. So if we're talking about crimes against the Italians, or just this is just. Hold on.
It's me. How could you?
Jared Leto. What the fuck?
Jared Leto needs to stop.
It's a me, Mario.
I thought he said Arlo.
He said Paolo.
Oh.
But it sounds like it's a me, Mario. From the acclaimed series Mario. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. It's video games. You wouldn't understand.
No.
This video games are only for trans girls.
I'm not a gamer girl, so.
No, sorry. No, that's all me. Me, gamer girl. You know me. Anyway, so we were talking about Salo.
You keep on going off track.
I'm sorry. It's just because it's a shit-eating film, and I don't want to talk about it. But my point there was like Italians, right? That's ultimately the meme, right? It's like Italian culture has this weird like fascist underpinning that they are dealing with. And so Cannibal Holocaust, let's just talk about that for just the briefest moment, is a movie ultimately calling out Italians for making exploitative documentaries for like financial gain, a thing that of course they fucking did. Well, Salo is calling out Italians for having fascists there, and
and not like, just having fascists there, but not fucking killing all the fascists, like letting it fester.
Well, and there's this like meta narrative to the whole thing too, where it's like, okay, the shit eating, right? What's the bit with that? What are they actually trying to say? When it's just like they made their nation eat shit, basically, right? And then that just got ingrained in the culture. And so while they were killing people, you know, and while they were raping the people and forcing them to eat shit, these are things that we kind of, you know, interiorized, right? Like, what is the word I'm looking for? Internalized,
right.
Yeah. So, like, in our culture now, right? I mean, we're not Italians, but in American culture, right? Like, I think a lot of people over COVID had to eat fast food like an awkward amount, you know, like just a lot, you know, just a lot. And at some point you realize like, oh man, I am just eating shit. Like,
Yeah.
and it is just, it's like a process, right? And so why are they so fucking into coprophagia? You know, why are they so into the sexualized eating of shit? And it's like, this is a question that I feel like on a meta narrative are asking about our own resources now. Like, why are we being forced to eat shit when good food exists? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, why are these things, why is our choice being taken away? You know, our choice is being stripped away by our leaders, and then you lose food, and then you lose your life. And it's just like, that's the process that fascism does to its nation. And so it's a little bit beyond just like the individual and like what a fascist would do to a child. And I guess that kind of like draws the line from fascist Italy to Bastille, like Marquis de Sade, like writing 120 Days of Sodom, like a long time ago, you know, about basically these exact same concepts. And Salo is just going, okay, so Salo is kind of a representation of this 120 Days of Sodom. Basically, like it's a national representation of this 120 Days of Sodom. So we can literally just change the setting and it's the same. And so I strongly believe that you take the same fucking thing, the Salo concept, and you apply it to like the last fucking 8 years of our life or whatever, you know, in America with all the fucking bullshit that's gone on with the, you know, the death and the illness and the
you could remake this movie.
And you could do it here.
You could remake this movie with like Trump, Paul Manafort, Rudy Giuliani.
Exactly. And that's the fucked
Roger
up thing.
Stone.
Yeah, and well, and so it's this repeating thing. So it's like Marquis de Sade writes about it, you know, Pier Paolo Pasolini adapts it, and now we are talking about it. Right. And it's this never ending. So, you know, why I feel like this almost gets to the root of like why we even keep seeking out disturbing media and things like that. And it's like oftentimes I feel like it's the only vulgar truth that you can find. You know, it's like somebody that's genuinely willing to tell you the truth. And sometimes it's edgelordy, but this is like the best example of it. This is where someone's just like viscerally telling you the truth. And that's a great thing.
Right.
It sure is good. I like it. Yeah, Paul Manafort. That was a good grab.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I liked it. It's my political diatribe for the day. But no, like, I mean, we've been talking about this a lot lately, where you and I have been getting progressively angrier as people. Like, we've been listening to a lot of punk music and watching Henry Rollins talk about shit, and you know, we've just been doing a lot of shit like that, and watching fucked up movies for the podcast, you know. And so we're just kind of getting this kind of whacked out energy where we're like, man, fuck American culture. But seriously though, guys, right? Like I think we are there, right? Where we've felt that way for a while, you know, as a country, like that American culture is kind of like rotting from the inside and turning into this like weird, almost like sexually exploitative thing. I mean, with the Epstein thing.
Well, I think like every aspect of American culture is like failing. Like our infrastructure is failing, mostly because of our insistence on the shitty fucking like street road bullshit we build everywhere, where, you know, it's like the two lane roads with fucking stores on either side and no way to walk, no like pedestrian infrastructure, with how we build our fucking suburbs, and how we like monetize that. We've built a system on fucking rotten lumber, and it's kind of all crashing down. And you know, who can we blame but our fucking the generations before us?
But here's the thing, right? So Salo, right?
Right.
Salo. the plot of the movie is literally the Italians lose, right? And they get a little colony just for a little while so that they can do what they want.
Yeah.
And is that not
Yeah. Well, no,
exactly?
but also, but it's the same bit where their culture and their society just kind of collapsed, as they lost the war,
Right.
because of a lot of the same reasons our society's collapsing.
Right.
And in the end, like if you're if you're in power and you're watching this regime change and you're watching things change and you're wondering about what's going to happen in the future, what the fuck else are you going to do other than hop on Epstein's plane and go down to Rape Island? Like it's all these like political leaders and all these influential people who aren't there,
like enjoying the burning of the world while they can.
Yeah, well, because they're not doing what they want to do for any sort of like altruistic reason. They're just there for power.
Yeah.
And as you see, and as they're watching like the supports rotting under them, the only thing to do then is to exercise as much power as you can. And like, what's the ultimate expression of "fuck you"? The laws don't apply to me.
Right.
Is fucking raping a kid.
Well, yeah, and I mean, so not to get into too spicy of like current events, but I mean, like Afghanistan, right? All of that shit.
Yeah.
We're talking now about how it was all just basically a grift the
Yeah.
whole time. Like we kept it going for so long, and it was a grift, and then we let it go, and it immediately turns back into exactly like a different thing, and so it's like.
Yeah, it immediately
There it
reverts
is,
back
like-
to the Northern Alliance and caves in northern Afghanistan, fighting Islamic fundamentalists.
Yeah.
It just like when we showed up there, and it's like, and like on Afghanistan, it's the whole thing where it's like the country is the breaker of empires. Like everyone who invades Afghanistan, like loses their empire.
Right.
So
So the only good thing to do there is just
Is to
enjoy
leave
the
it the
grift
fuck
and leave it
alone.
alone. And so they just went and grifted the fucking country. And I love to hate that.
Well, and like it's like literally the grift is people using like the national resources to funnel it into their own ventures and their own like profit, which is literally what the fascists did in Italy and in Germany, and to a lesser degree Japan. Japan doesn't share a lot of the economic similarities to like Italy and Germany in the 40s, but like a lot of just Nazism was mostly just a grift to see how much they could take from the Jews. Like so much of Nazism was literally just like a grift to get rich.
Well, and I think that's ultimately the point here, right? Is like it starts as a grift, starts as like, it starts as rape, right? It's like exploiting the person.
Right.
And then it turns into, well, now we're going to make them eat shit. And then at some point you go, well, now we're going to kill them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and so that's the process.
And the thing is they don't even wake up and decide to start the shit eating. Like the prostitute that they've hired to groom the kids is like, yeah, one time I was with the John and he ate my shit and I thought that was really hot. And then the Italian or the fascists are like, ooh, I want to watch someone eat my shit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And so
Mangi.
Well, and it's like we were talking about this earlier, how like I know that this is ridiculous. Like these things, I feel like this podcast is kind of going to be all over the place, like sporadic, but I think that it overall paints a decent socio-political picture. Hitler, when he was like, after he died, apparently he had fucking busted all his veins and they were putting testosterone into him and like all kinds of drugs to like prop him up.
For 15 years, he was doing a shitload of drugs, like, and it started out as like vitamins and testosterone, and in the end, he was doing cocaine, opiates, like just fucking everything. Like his doctors literally just fucking speedballing him to get him through the days. And it's like, as in the last like 2 or 3 years of the war, he literally, like, there was a bunker that he lived in that everyone else hated being in, but it was the only place Hitler felt safe. So he just lived in this bunker and like got a speedball every morning and did insane shit.
Yeah. Well, and it's like There it is, right? Political leaders, right? They'll decry the addicts
Yeah.
while enjoying the fuck out of like a drugged out like privileged life
Yeah.
until their
Yeah.
end.
Like, because like Trump was fucking hooked on Adderall,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, amongst other things,
amongst other things. But it's like, you know, it's
but it's no different, really.
No.
I mean, the same kind of vibe, and well, and I mean, like, obviously, addiction is not a bad thing, but privilege, right? The privilege of being handed whatever you want to the point where you're being dosed like crazy shit constantly, like fucking Hitler.
like Hitler doing so much drugs that his veins were collapsing, and his like professional doctor was having problems getting more drugs into him because all of his veins were just fucking shot.
Yeah. Well, and that's like giving somebody whatever they want whenever they want.
Right.
That's the bit there.
And it's also like on the addict thing. It's like being an addict is just it's a human thing, you know.
Right.
It's you develop dependency on it, but it's when someone is an addict, is doing like illegal drugs, and then is in a position of power and punishing other people for doing those same drugs. It's like, oh, you
as a grift, entirely as a grift.
As a grift.
Well, and so that's the shitty thing that we're learning, I think, about everything is that a lot of politics are just a grift,
Yeah.
and a lot of war is a grift, and a lot of all of this shit, all of this like, you know, like justice has a tendency to look like justice, but it's actually a grift. And Salo, I think, is literally this. It's like literally a representation of this. It's like, look at the grift and watch what happens if it decays.
Right.
Like, watch what happens if they get what they want.
Yeah. They fucking kill everyone and sit in their little rooms and like jack off and watch it. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, it's time for a breaky poo. I have a little advertisement for you. I have great news. No one, I repeat, not a soul has purchased ad space yet. So,
No.
we don't have an ad for you today. I can't be like, go get Tim's butthole wax at your local farmer's market. Like, I can't say that. I gotta say something. So, patreon.com/excrement. That's our shithole podcast zone.
Yeah.
For all of the shit. So you drop us some shit bucks over there. 2 would be nice. 2 is like the solid number. That's the like, I'm a listener. I'm listening every week. I'm a big fan of it. But, you know, I don't want ad space or anything like that. And honestly, I think we could make this thing sustainable entirely weekly, doing this like for a long time if we just got a lot of $2
Yeah.
patrons like that, just enough to keep us doing this all the time, because it is kind of a big time commitment at this point. Like, this is our 5th episode, right?
Episode 5.
Wow. Heck, shit, that's a lot of episodes.
That's 4 more than 1.
Yeah. And well, and when you start a podcast, you know, you got to get over that hump of the first couple, and we are over that hump at this point. But if we want to maintain this, I mean, a little bit of money would help. I also think that just throwing a little money at our equipment would be good. It's not to say that what we've got right here is bad, but like perhaps like some kind of better editing process, or perhaps better microphones at some point would be nice. Like something a little bit more podcast friendly, because these are basically my music microphones.
Right.
I just borrowed them from myself to do this podcast, and now I don't have them, which is kind of a bummer because I like to use them for music. But I mean, whatever. But one of these days, like, these are things that I think would be good to get for the podcast, and also just I think that we're going to be doing a lot of podcasting. Podcasting is fun.
Yeah.
I like it. I was talking to Maddie about potentially starting a podcast with her. So there's a lot of options. But anyway, we're also still definitely looking into getting a podcasting network. We haven't done that yet.
Yeah, and if you want an advertisement, there's a tier on Patreon for advertising. If you want me to pimp out whatever you want me to, I'll do it.
Yeah, anything.
Anything.
Pretty much anything. So, except for like Nazi shit.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to the conversation. Hey, welcome back. We're back to Salo.
Salo.
We're back to Salo. We're 120 Days of Sodom, Neo's favorite film.
Yeah.
So Neo, do you so do you know, did you Google a lot of the controversy around the whole death thing?
I read the Wikipedia article on it.
Okay, so you have a little bit of knowledge, but so there's like a lot of like hearsay and a lot of like, okay, it's worth mentioning that Salo or 120 Days of Sodom was a production that was handled well. This is important to note, that everybody on set was supposedly hunky-dory. Everybody was happy. Everybody liked it. There's like behind the scenes footage of everybody being happy. There's not a lot of exploitation going on. Apparently everybody was cool with it, which is kind of I mean, Cannibal Holocaust, not so much, but this one,
Right.
you know, people were cool with it. And this was also being covered by local newspapers. So like local press was covering the production of this film. It was a major production in Italy at the time, which is also significant because a lot of Italian filmmakers were, you know, going elsewhere to make their movies. You know, a lot of Dario Argento would making movies in Berlin, you know, Amazon, just all over the world. But this was a major production being made in Italy. So it was significant to a lot of local news, and they reported on it a lot. So at the end of the day, it was like right before the whole thing was finished. Like I think they had wrapped production. They had a cut of the movie, but they had not yet premiered it, or it might have been right after. I don't remember exactly.
I think he was killed a couple days before.
That's what I want to say. And so the thing is, like, supposedly he was with a prostitute, and there's questionable about whether or not he was into underage boys too, which is also fucked up.
He is Italian.
So he had us. But anyway, so my bit there is like Piero Paolo Pasolini was perhaps not a good dude, but we don't know. I don't know. And I'm sure we're gonna get comments being like, evidence, maybe. But either way, he was supposedly killed when he was with a prostitute, and then he was killed. And so the bit is, was he killed by somebody who didn't want him to have made this film, or was he killed by, you know, someone he was exploiting, someone that was trying to rob him, something like that? Was it innocent, or did it have something to do with the movie? Well, and he had kind of he had a lot of controversy surrounding him, I suppose, in Italy, because, like, well, obviously the fascists didn't like him very much, and I don't know why. Anyway, so, well, and this is another reason why a lot of people are like, was he into underage boys? Because the Italian fascists sure didn't like him, and they do say whatever the fuck they want to get things. So, like, there's that tendency there too. So there's like a lot of like mystery as to what the exact dealio here is, and maybe that's conspiratorial, but when you watch Salo or 120 Days of Sodom, you genuinely go, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah,
I can totally see why he was murdered for this.
yeah. So yeah, and I think that him being a martyr for the film adds more weight to it.
Sure, but also it's unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
Like, ew, God, fuck. I don't want that to be true, because that means some very, very bad things about the world, right? But the movie is still out there.
Yeah.
So they couldn't stop the movie.
No.
But also, what did the movie change? What did the movie do? Did the movie fix anything? Or did the movie just exist as one very punk document of this thing that's totally going on and happens and continues to happen in giant civilizations?
Well, yeah. It's like, well, I think it's like Squid Game, where all the right wingers and capitalists watch it and go, "Wow, that shows about how much communism sucks."
Right.
Damn.
And it's like missing the point entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that right wingers and fascists have this like miraculous ability to watch something hypercritical of them and be like,
This
wow,
is for me.
This is for me. This is against the leftist communists.
Right. Well, and like, yeah, I have heard dumbass arguments about this movie in relationship to that, like saying that it's like communism.
Fascism is literally just like communism.
Yeah. So who knows what the fuck is going on there? But either way, our boy is no longer, and he did make quite a few art films, but this was his like big shocking one. He also did like the Canterbury Tales, and he did a bunch of stuff. And like very much like artistic eye.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, that's part of what makes the movie so fucked up. Is it's so artistically beautiful.
Well, so let's talk about that. What exactly do you feel like makes its like dichotomy exist? Like, where's the beauty in it?
Because it's like I said earlier, like the cinematography is really good. The fact that it's in Technicolor is great. The location is really good. It's all just like entire movie looks like a Renaissance painting.
Well, and I almost feel like that's kind of the thing, right? So if you know anything about art history, you know that Catholicism is kind of a gilded turd, right? It's like it's like a. I mean, sorry if you're a Catholic. It's just like listen. I've been down that road. Okay. There's like a lot of bad shit that goes down at the Vatican and Vatican City, but it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful place because they hired every great artist imaginable to make it a beautiful place. And so all of these amazing artists turned this like place of exploitation into a miraculous beauty. And so like 120 Days of Sodom is super ornate, like wide shots, beautiful locations. It's like, look how beautiful Italy is, the land of exploitation. You know, it's like, it's a beautiful place where you can't hear the screaming.
Yeah, well, and like all the kids are really pretty.
Yeah.
All the prison guards are pretty. Everyone except for the fascists are really pretty.
I mean,
the fascists are like toads.
Yeah, they're horrific. But they also like clearly represent the different figures of Italian culture. There's like one that's like very much a state leader. There's one that's very much a religious leader. And they kind of like all end up congealing into how does this get allowed? Well, if every figure of every head of state in every way is kind of participating in it, then of course it is. And so the Holy Mountain, I think, is a good comparison here because it like does the same call out post vibe of like, here's all the people that are leading the world in ways that you don't like, the invisible hands.
Yeah.
And here's how they're all married and they're all fucking you.
Yeah.
And so
and children.
Yeah, and children. So, and making you eat shit and then gonna kill you. And so like 120 Days of Sodom, his martyrdom there, like, and I almost hate calling it that because what if it isn't? But if it is martyrdom, if he is legitimately has died for his movie, then like doesn't that just kind of like make him the prime example of the exact thing that he's trying to talk about, you know, which is just like living a life enslaved, being forced to like, you know, subsist on shit and then getting killed. And he didn't want to live like that, so he tried to say that's what was happening and fucking died saying it. Just romantic. It's romantic. If it's what happened, then I like it. Right. But I don't like that is the tale, right? And I like this tale. It's kind of like, you know, people saying that Marsha threw the brick at Stonewall. You know, she didn't. Yeah. She wasn't there. She wasn't. She legitimately was not there. But the story is more important. Like the story that she did is significant enough that it has led us to believe and do a lot of radical shit. So
it's like that bad bit from Game of Thrones.
It's like that bad bit from The Dark Knight.
The story is what's important, not the truth.
Yeah, well, but so unfortunately that is kind of the situation we end up in here with 120 Days of Sodom. It's like, so if Pier Paolo Pasolini died, defending his movie from a fascist. I like that more.
Right.
That means more to me. And that has a tendency to be the thing that I've heard the most because that's what people want to believe.
Right.
And so if they believe it, at some point that's the truth of it. And even if it's not the truth, so it's like that's the meaningful truth of it, if that makes sense. And so in that case, rest in peace, King. But if he was an unfortunate, horrible person himself, then rest in shit. Fuck you.
You can never tell with Italian directors.
God damn it. It's true. So I've covered my bases there, but I think I ultimately got my opinions out. God. So you hated watching it.
I did. So as a human, I'm always hungry. I like in the like 40 minutes we've been in the 40 minutes we've been recording, I've just kind of been craving pie. Because it's post Thanksgiving, you have leftovers.
Yeah.
I've been hungry for pie after every bite of food I've eaten today.
Okay.
I've never not been hungry today, and my entire life has been this where I'll eat and then I'll be full and then I'll still be hungry because I am an all-consuming
Pile of flesh.
Pile
Yes.
of flesh. The last half of Salo was the only time in my life I have been not hungry. The only time in my life where I could not have eaten food if it was in front of me.
Damn, dude.
I viscerally did not like watching that movie. It was disturbing to the bone.
That sounds like some... Wow. Well, I have great news. And see, it's unfortunately great news, but it's like there was a time, I guess I would have been probably about 25 or 26. I'm no longer that. Now I'm 52. But when I was 25 or 26, I was like, oh, Salo or 120 Days of Sodom is the most disturbing movie ever made. I said, not knowing that there was a wellspring, a deep wellspring filled with shit worse than this or as bad as this.
Well, but it's like, I don't know. It's in my opinion, the fact that it's made so well makes it so much worse.
Yeah, well, and that's why it ends up being the most important of, I think, of all of these. It's just because it's like, it is viscerally disturbing, but it's also from comparably budget to screen. It like looks fantastic. It like speaks really well. And I think overall it just has its messaging like right in line. It's like everything has very specific, direct representational value.
Yeah, well, and it's like if Mei Chan's daily life was shot in Technicolor, then we might be having a different conversation. But it's not. It's shot with like a piece of shit.
When are we going to do that movie?
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to talk about with that movie.
Yeah, there really probably isn't a whole lot.
Like,
I mean, maybe a little bit.
yeah, but not a. We
could
could just do an
probably-
episode on like shitty Japanese snuff films or like fake snuff films.
I mean, true.
But
could.
back to the shit eating Italians.
Yes.
It's just like, because I've seen movies that like if they were shot as proficiently as Salo would be,
Genuinely upsetting.
would be upsetting, but nothing like there's this inverse correlation between how well a movie looks like or how well a movie portrays its meaning through cinematic language
Yeah.
and how disturbing it is. And it feels like every other movie, the more disturbing the movie gets, the worse they get at trying to portray.
The cinematic language gets
The,
worse.
the cinematic language gets worse. Except for fucking Salo. Salo's like the exception.
Median. It's
of-
fucked up and the cinematic language is perfect.
The cinematic language is perfect and it's real fucked up.
Well, I guess that brings us to the question, the big one. Let's pull it out, my friends. Is this going to go in your shit pile or not, sir? Where are you at with this one?
It all depends on the story. So, like, I think if we're gonna go on the side of the director died to fascists because of this movie, you have to put it in the good pile, right?
Sure.
But if that's not what happened and some random underage prostitute stabbed him in the kidney because he was raping him, then I think the movie loses a big part of its significance.
Sure.
And then I think that just goes to the the shit pile. Though,
Well,
I don't like it anymore. I don't want it.
So I'm a big fan of cultural anthropology. That's like one of my big things. So it's like I'm kind of the mind that it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if it's good. It doesn't matter if it's true, really. It more matters that I have a clear understanding of it, and that like I feel like its existence is somehow essential in history. So I feel like Salo or 120 Days of Sodom continues to be more and more essential, right? So it kind of almost doesn't matter what happened. And it kind of doesn't matter who made it. It's kind of a pocket watch in the desert at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it lives as a document of this particular manifestation and how it continues to be a problem today.
Right.
And in that way, I can't make it less important, no matter what the director did. And so and beyond that, as a work of cultural anthropology, no matter what the director did that got him killed for this, it's more interesting than had he been alive and lived and died as an old fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's cultural anthropology. It's interesting. And like I refuse, I think, to separate or to moralize cultural anthropology to the point where I can't at least engage with it. So I'm engaging with it no matter what the deal is. And I think engaging with it is fruitful. Since engaging with it, I feel like I've gotten a lot of clarity about the political situations that we frequently live in. And I have to give the movie a big old thank you. So it's going right in my shit pile, my dude.
All right.
Is that I mean, hopefully that's a fairly astute answer.
I think it's a student answer.
You don't want to be like, yes.
Yeah.
It's because you hate Italians, which you've revealed over the course of the podcast.
And I want to be clear. I don't hate any person.
Oh, yeah.
Due to their ethnicity.
Oh, all the Italians at home were pressing X to doubt.
Yeah. No. Listen, all you ethnic Italians, you're great. I'm sure each and every one of you is an upstanding person. I think there's just this thing with Italian culture that rubs me.
Well, it's just I think the thing is you just watched like Salo or 120 Days of Sodom, and then someone put a microphone in your face, so your immediate reaction is like, "Fuck Italians, I guess." And I'm just like, well, let's walk that back just slightly.
Go after your fascists, like Nazis gone after Germany's gone after the Nazis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's go after the fascists. That's the big bit, right? This has been a Woody Guthrie podcast, pretty much. This podcast kills
I have been
fascists.
listening to Woody Guthrie.
You have, but that's just because you really want to unionize, even though you don't really have an industry to unionize. There's not like a podcast union, I don't think. Maybe there is.
Let's create one.
Podcaster union.
Let's go and kidnap Robert Evans and make him join our podcast union.
Oh my God! Hey Robert. I hope you're listening. We love you. We would love to have you on the podcast to talk about something spicy. Like, you've seen a lot of shit, so I assume that you've probably seen some dangerous, fucked up things. If you have, hit me up, my dude. DM me. I will have you on. As a matter of fact, like, I think guests are a good vibe. I've been thinking about that lately, and I was like, we could have like a Discord guest sometime or something like that. We could make that happen.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Yeah.
So if you're famous and cool, and not just lowly Peter or John at your computer, listening to this before jerking off, if you're like a person with like real big brain, galaxy brain takes on some kind of fucked up movie, this might be the podcast for you to guest on, my dude. So hit me up. Let's see about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, so you're to conclude here, you're saying that your vote is contingent upon what the director did in his personal life.
I think my vote is contingent on the story and like the overall narrative of the film.
So,
But
is it possible to accept one narrative and reject another narrative, even if that other narrative is true?
yeah,
Dark Knight,
I
he's the hero we deserve, but not the hero we need right now.
I just think that movie made me so viscerally uncomfortable that I'm not gonna put it.
You don't want to touch it.
I don't want to touch
It
it. I'm not gonna
stinks.
put it with the thing
Stinky.
in Bone Tomahawk. No, it gets put over there. And I'm not trying to deny the significance of the movie.
Sure.
I just think that they could have. I don't know. I'm surely there's movies that communicate what it communicates in a less shit-eating fashion, like The Holy Mountain.
Well, and we'll get there, because that's more your vibe. You're more of a psychedelia kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I'm more of a truth kind of lady.
Yeah.
I like spicy things that make me uncomfortable, and you like psychedelia.
Yeah.
So when we get into the psychedelia, you're going to have a golden time, but right now I'm having a golden shower.
Or a brown bath.
Or brown bath. Fuck me. I hate this episode. All right, so thank you for watching. If listening, whatever you were doing. If you were watching, maybe come out. Where are you?
If you're in our window, hello.
Hello. Are you in the closet? So anyway, thank you for listening. Please, share this wherever podcasts are sold or whatever the fuck that means. Tweet at us at
your take is XEX.
And you are.
I am Neo or at Angstrom on
I'm
Twitter.
And I'm at Nick Spheres or May. You can call me up. We can talk about shit. And if you hate my political takes about how fascism is bad, might I kindly suggest that you go fuck yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's kind of the only thing there.
Hey, if you're a fascist, like legitimately a fascist, follow your leader.
Wow.
All right.
So I'll see you later, my friends. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving that already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you ate some good food. And
Got fat on turkey.
Yeah.
All right. See you later.
I think that's about it. Yeah. So, all right. Well, goodbye.
I want to edit.